It's the culture, stupid. How lies and manipulation have destroyed the black community. By me, Jack Barth. The flag of the United States is a symbol of hope and freedom all over the world. The freedom fighters in Hong Kong sing our national anthem and they wave our flag. However, the United States is not perfect, and there are many people struggling to make it even in the United States. Black people in America have been historically oppressed, and there are repercussions from that to this day. As a white American, I will never understand what it is like to be a black person in America. With that in mind, I decided to read Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. Black people constitute around 13% of the population while making up 25% of the prison population. How is this possible? Is it racism, or is it an outside factor? The author of Discriminations and Disparities, Thomas Sowell, believes that it is not the fault of racism, but of a culture that promotes drug use, a victim mentality, and gang violence. Thomas Sowell was born June 30th, 1930. Since his mom already had 4 kids and no father in the house, Sowell was raised by his great aunt and her daughters. Sowell grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina until the age of 9 when he moved to one of the most dangerous places in Harlem, New York City. When in Harlem, Sowell attended Stuyvesant High School until the age of 17 when he was forced to drop out to earn money for his household. In 1951, Sowell was drafted to serve in the Korean War. Sowell has said that his family's struggles and his experience in the war led him to many of his conclusions about human nature. Because of his experiences and beliefs, Thomas Sowell has written many books on economics and racial issues. In 2018, Sowell released the book Discrimination and Disparities. Sowell begins this book by talking about how for a long time he was confused about how, while the civil rights movement in America was making such big strides, there was still vast inequity between minority groups and white Americans. Sowell's thesis is that people's individual choices and the culture is more responsible for the discrepancy between white Americans and black people than racism. Sowell continues through the rest of the book, drawing on his own personal experience of rising out of poverty through hard work and good decision-making. Finally, Sowell concludes his book by talking about how to change the disparity in America. He says no new law must be made, but he writes, "If our community is truly as strong as we say, and we must stop accepting the premise that we are victims and must take it upon ourselves to fix the problems for ourselves." Thomas Sowell is about as different from me as you can get. I am a privileged white man who goes to a very good private school. Thomas Sowell is a black man who dropped out of school at the age of 17 to help his family. I obviously hold very controversial views on many important issues, but my viewpoint is very narrow and not very nuanced. Through simply listening to Sowell's point of view and ideas, it is enriching to my understanding of the American experience and the struggles that people that are different from me go through. This book is very enriching and is a great book for wanting to understand race relations in America. Sowell perfectly describes race relations in America today when he writes, "Racism is not dead, but it is on life support, kept alive by politicians, race hustlers, and people who get a sense of superiority by denouncing others as racist." This book completely destroys victim mentality and tells people to work hard to improve their own personal situation. This book is exactly what our country needs to hear right now, and he sums up this belief on the final page of the book when he writes, "Much of the social history of the past 3 decades has involved replacing what works with what sounded good, in area after area, crime, education, housing, and race relations." This quote explains how modern political conversations on every issue have become more about feelings than actual results. Understanding Sowell's identity and beliefs are important to me because he's a very smart man who grew up in tough conditions and is willing to say unpopular things for the sake of truth. Our country is an amazing one. We are the freest and most prosperous nation in the history of the civilized world. This doesn't mean we are perfect, and we should do everything imaginable to fix these problems. Sowell lays out a path to prosperity, drawing on his own experience as a youth and at war. Sowell emphasizes the importance of hard work while downplaying the importance of factors out of our control. He writes, After all I have gone through in my life, I'm confident there is nothing that cannot be accomplished when you have will that refuses to be broken. This is the attitude we all must have if we're going to fix the systemic problems in the United States. We must take responsibility for our own actions instead of blaming outside factors. This will lead to a more successful, less envious, and even greater country than we have today. Thank you.